everybody. Welcome back to the High Roller Sports Betting Podcast. And once again, you're here with Coach and T, and we are ready to break down all the Week 0 and Week 1 big games. Moving on to the next game, we finally get off that 3:30 time slot. Utah versus Florida. It's on ESPN at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And Utah, at the time of recording, is a minus 1.5, so they're the 1.5 point favorite. And the over-under number is at 52.5. What can you tell me about this game?
When this line opened, Florida was a favorite. Florida
Okay.
was a slight favorite. They were about -1. Utah, very solid last year, 7-5 ATS.
Yeah.
Ignore what happened in the bowl game when they played Ohio State. Utah had guys that had not played a single snap in their secondary.
Can't do that against Ohio
So
State.
the last game that people remember was Utah's just getting I want to say, didn't Smith and Jigba, I think it was him, set like the record for most receiving
he was
yards in a bowl
phenomenal.
game.
All their young guys were phenomenal.
Yeah, we'll get into Ohio State. Trust me,
State's
I got
scary
plenty
good.
to say.
Yeah. They're coming up next.
Florida only brings back about 32% of their offensive production. Utah brings back about 76%. Utah's got a real deep running back room with Travion Thomas, who is an 1,100-yard back, averaged about 5.5 yards a carry. They also added a transfer from LSU. And then they also bring back, who is their second back last year, Micah Bernard, who had 500-plus yards and 6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
O-line returns 3 from last year, but they also have 4 full-time starters coming back, one from the transfer portal,
Yep.
70-plus career starts for the offensive line. They do lose 2 key all-conference players in their center and their left tackle, two most important spots on the O-line,
Yeah.
but they'll be all right. They bring back 5 of their 6 top wide receiver options. With a balanced passing attack, they'll be solid.
Yeah.
Not real worried about Utah offensively. I think they'll have a similar kind of production and output to what they did a year ago.
Yeah.
Defensively is really where Utah was elite. They lose 2 guys from the secondary from last year, but they'll still be a top 10, 15 unit probably in the country. They're still that good. Bringing new guys in. D-line they're legit.
Yep.
They had Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, Tafuna, on the D-line. They do lose Devin Lloyd, though.
Yeah,
Who's
that's
a
big loss.
part. You lose your middle linebacker, 110 sacks, or 110 sacks, 110 tackles,
He
8
was phenomenal if he had that sacks, but that's okay.
But they add Florida's best defensive player from a year ago, who started 10 games for them, led him in tackles. And they also add a defensive guy from Stanford, played 11 games for the Cardinal, had 10 tackles for loss last year, so was able to get into the backfield and create havoc.
You'll hear me talk about Utah. I consider them one of the favorites, if not co-favorite, to win the Pac-12 this year. I really like them, but we'll get more onto them. What do you got for me with Florida? What are you thinking about them?
Starts with Billy Napier taking over.
Yep.
I know people down in Gainesville are really, really excited about Napier.
Yep.
We have bet a lot of Billy Napier games.
Yes, we have, Billy. You made me money,
yes,
so thank you. I appreciate
bet a
you.
lot of Louisiana football games over the last couple of years.
That was one of those, as a side note, that was one of those teams where they're not on the big game slate, and you don't always see them on the primary game on ESPN. Sometimes you got to find them, on your ESPN app and go search for them. But I tell you what, they were good, and they made us a lot of money. And Billy Napier and the system he runs was a main reason why. And I'm a big fan. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
So, kind of piggybacking off of that, he did have a more run-focused offense at Louisiana.
Yeah.
I believe that he will bring some of that with him to Florida.
Yep.
They aren't going to be quite as pass-heavy. Florida loses their top 3 rushers.
Yep.
But Billy Napier brings Montrell Johnson with him from Louisiana. Last year he had 800 plus yards and averaged over 5 yards a carry.
And he knows the system.
Yeah. Now, different talent level that he was playing up against, but still, he'd be doing all right.
Yeah. He knows the system. He knows the verbiage of the offensive plays. He'll be able to be a teacher in the locker room, which will help him integrate into the team. I see some good things that way. So go ahead. Keep going.
I like Florida defensively in their secondary. They should be good. Plus Napier, looking at him specifically, year in and year out, has put top 20 secondaries
Together.
When you rank teams in terms of production and what they give up in the secondary, Louisiana's been a top 20 team pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And with the talent Florida has, I don't see that stopping, so to speak.
I agree.
The D line is going to be a little bit of a concern to me.
Yeah.
Especially if with Utah and their kind of style.
No.
We'll see how the defensive line, who doesn't have a ton of depth, is really the issue.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out. They do return their nose tackle, the Dexter kid, NFL talent, and then they bring a kid, Desmond Watson, who weighs 417 pounds at nose tackle. That is a big guy.
Ooh, that's me and you combined there. 417. Wow, that's a big man.
Yeah.
That's a big man. I'll have to watch, see if he carries that weight well. Because man, if you're that big, dang.
They bring Brenton Cox. I think it was the name, Brenton. 8.5 sacks a year ago. He returns.
Yeah.
And Trey Dean, who's the leading tackler with 92 tackles, is also back.
Yeah.
At linebacker.
To me, how I look at Florida, especially early games in the swamp, look at the weather.
Well,
And
Florida's won 32 straight non-conference home openers.
Yeah. Well, that and a reason, one of the reasons behind that, kind of behind the scenes, check out what the humidity is going to be and what the temperature is going to be, because that is a difference. You go from, I don't care where you're at. I mean, I live in the desert, and 110 is still 110. It's hot. But when you get off that airplane and you're stepping into heat and humidity, it's a whole nother ball game. And Florida has taken advantage of that over and over. I mean, full disclosure, I love Utah. I love them as a team. If this wasn't the first game and in the swamp and I saw that number, I would jump on Utah. But when I saw the number, it was like, okay, what is going on here? What am I missing? I looked at T and I said, okay, fill me in a little bit more on this game, because I know we both like Utah, but we also both like Napier. But it's a new coach versus a team that returns a lot. You know, the number and everything wasn't adding up for me. So when I get that type of confusion, and it really did, there's no clarity for me, I stay away. Those are games that I would just rather stay away from than work. But if you want an upset special, this is one of the few games I've seen on the early slate where at this number, and I know it didn't open up that way, I know it opened up Florida -1, I would say if you like playing that underdog card and you like proving to your friends you can pick an underdog, you don't always have to pick the favorites all the time, I'd lean Florida on this one if that's what you want to think, and if you want one underdog that could pull the upset in this first week. And I know it's not much of an upset, so don't send me hate mail on that. But just know this, that you're giving a Florida team who's getting points, they're the underdog, first game of the year, non-conference, history tells me they win this one. So that being said, what are you looking at?
So I made this line about Utah -3.5.
Yeah.
So when it opened, I was looking at this. If it goes the other way, we could have that underdog play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as we mentioned, Florida with the 32 consecutive home opener.
Yeah.
Utah is also 7-2 straight up, 7-1-1 ATS in road openers since 2013.
Yep.
So as good as Florida is at home, Utah has also had a lot of success on the road.
Yeah, I agreed.
Now, so I made this line Utah 3.5. Like I said, it's already moved in that direction. So there's not a lot of value for me in terms of the spread. Plus, with some of the uncertainty of how much is Florida really going to have that run-focused offense, we'll see. But that is one of the things. Total, about 52.5, stayed pretty much right where it's been since it opened. If I had to play something, maybe the under. Take a look at the under, just because if Florida's going to be more run-heavy and Utah's going to be more run-heavy, if both teams can sustain a drive, all of a sudden you could be looking at 7-3 first quarter.
Okay.
I mean, or on any quarter, doesn't necessarily have to be the first quarter. So at 52.5, I think Florida's history offensively and being able to score and take shots down the field has that line a little bit high, but not high enough for me to get to the window right now to actually bet it.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I like this game, and it'll be a game I'll definitely be tuned into.